can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
It's here. It's here. No more sleeps. No more naps unless you've got one in between FT and Game 1 of the World Series. It's Braun, Kratz, and Maybin, and here we go. Fall Classic time between the Dodgers and the Yankees. I'm pumped about it. And also, you'll see us three tonight after the game for just a little 20, 30-minute hang to get immediate thoughts. So if you're watching us right now on YouTube, I just want to tell everyone right off the jump, because I know there's some of you that pay really close attention for the first 30 seconds, and then you start to be like many other people across the globe who lose their attention, but still keep us on to look at Cam's pretty face. Pinstripe territory, Dodgers territory, FT, all after Game 1. Those channels will all be cranking. So make sure you pay attention to that. Cam, you excited?
It felt like the first day of school, man. Like I went and like laid my outfit out last night, ready for the game. I'm hyped, bro. I feel like a kid in the candy store. This is awesome. I mean, I don't think we could ask for a better matchup for this 2024 World Series. It's going to be a fun one.
And we're going to drop blocks for Game 1, predictions for the series, MVP, the X Factor, powered by Erik Kratz. He actually sponsors the X Factor segment that we do now. Just Erik Kratz. We're not asking you to go to any website or hit any codes. It's just Erik Kratz. We just want you to know that he is Foul Territory's X Factor. Okay, so we'll get to that. Exactly. There he is.
I'm just pumped. I got a costume party tomorrow night, so I got to change my whole look up. It's going to be awesome.
Wow. I'm excited to see what you bring to the table. I have one too. Saturday and Sunday, kind of hitting a little festival. So
I feel like Scott's costume parties are different than my costume parties. Like Scott's are like people like holding like a stick up with like a mask. Mine are like, we're gonna have chili. We're gonna have chili, some fruits, some vegetables, and somebody's bringing brownies.
No.
I feel like it's different.
No, you've got me wrong. So my costume parties are like Alice in Wonderland on steroids. Not necessarily me. That's not really my vibe. I'm not the big dress up guy, but the people I run around with go hard and they go very creative. I don't know how to explain.
Artistically.
Andy Warhol, Grateful Dead. Yeah. Like think of this like cool cultural creativity. They're bringing it. So I'll get a few pictures. I don't know if they'll be showable on this show, but I'll get a few pictures. YouTube might shut us down if I show them on here.
I'm a little bummed this year. Hurricane Helene kind of messed it up for us here, but usually I do. I usually throw a friend and family Halloween party. Last year I was the Jack Link's beef jerky Sasquatch. It was awesome. So I had the whole thing. I had the walk going. It was sick, but I'm a little bummed. But next year I'm gonna have to go out there and attend Scott's Halloween party. It sounds like a ball.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. But you were Sasquatch, and then if you need another costume in a few years, you can be Pasquatch. You can be
exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
I want to get invited to either one of your parties or Cece's Halloween parties or Todd's Halloween parties. Anybody that does it big.
Yeah. Well, you're invited for sure to mine. It's just they're in Florida, so you'd have to make the trip. But you can bring wifey and take the trip down. We stay in trailers, RVs, the whole deal. So yeah, it's an experience. We'll talk later about it because I know some people might want us to talk about baseball. So we'll do that. Let's charge it.
Charging the mound.
All right, here we go. So we have some trash talk. We have some pregame festivities. We have a little bit more information about what the starting staff will look like for both sides and how they'll line up. So here's the rundown of what to expect before Game 1. Orel Hershiser and Steve, I'm going to butcher the name there. Yeager?
I think it's Yeager.
First pitch. Yeager. Brad Paisley with the anthem. Bryan Cranston will announce time for Dodger baseball. And most importantly, they will honor Fernando Valenzuela, which I'm very excited to see. Let's get to the trash talk. Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone used to not be friends. They're talking a lot of trash about their colleges. Now they are friends on a text level. So when Dave Roberts landed, Aaron Boone sent him a Yankee emoji to his phone. And then Doc said he thought about sending Boone a single finger emoji, probably thumbs up, but he
There you
decided
go.
not
That's
to.
what I was thinking.
Or maybe like number one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
That would have been awesome.
better than this.
That's Garrett's. That's the
Better than
text emoji he's sending to Booney.
Yeah, or to Ohtani if he's got 2 on and a base empty at first, he'll be like,
First at bat of the
and
game.
whoop. Yeah, first at bat of the game. I don't want him. Let me go get after bets.
We don't need to see that. We do not need to see that Garrett Cole. We need to see Bulldog Garrett Cole.
Yeah, good call. And I think we will. I think we will see Bulldog Garrett Cole, but we'll get to it. So let's line up the rotation then, Cam. So, I mean, it was pretty obvious we were going to get Rodon after Cole. And then now we know we'll get Clark Schmidt for game 3, which I'm assuming will set us up for Luis Gil game 4. All good with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I was curious where they were gonna go game 3. Was it gonna be Hill or Clark Schmidt? But I like that, and I think we all know more than likely it's gonna be one of those situations where they kind of see where Clark Schmidt is, right? Is he on attack mode? Is he throwing strikes? It's gonna be a short leash. But I like that because if you can get one of these first 2 games when you got Cole and you got Rodon lined up, if you can get a good outing from Clark Schmidt, which I like his repertoire. I like his ability to mix and match pitches and not give in. But I think his whole thing is he's going to have to attack, right? He's going to have to limit the free passes. He's going to have to make the Dodgers hit. But I like that. And if you can get it to Luis Gil, I really, really like the way the Yankees rotation is shaping up. And that's the one thing that I thought was going to be their advantage was their rotation. And I like the way they have it set up right now. And I'm still curious to see where Nestor falls in. If he's able to go, but man, I want to see that guy pitch after his comments. That's a dog I want to see out on the bump as well.
Yeah, and we're waiting to get roster decisions on Nestor. I mean, it sounds like it was trending in the right direction. Same with Miguel Rojas, Alex Vesia, and Brusdar Graterol for the Dodgers to see if they'll be on this World Series roster after not being on the CS roster. We shall see. Okay, Kratz, do you think that's a significant advantage too, that they have a 3-4 who really have great stuff, Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil in very different ways?
You mean the fact that they actually have a 3rd and 4th starter? You're saying that's the advantage?
Yes, although I will say this, you can't make fun of the Dodgers the same way now. I think if we believe what we saw from Walker Buehler and that he can replicate that as far as the pitch effectiveness, they do have 3. They admittedly do not have a 4. There's no attempt at a 4th starter from the Dodgers in this World Series. It's you get 3, and they're hoping that those 3 are feeling pretty good. So it's 3 starters against 4.
So the essence of your question, yes, the Yankees are feeling pretty good about that. Here's where, and Dave Roberts actually kind of hinted at it if you think about what he said in his press conference the other day. We're not sure if we're going to go Buehler game 3 or a bullpen game. Well, you think about that, the fact that game 1 and 2, you go off day. Their concern over what they have with Buehler should be out the window, right? After he's had a start where all of a sudden he upped his spin rate, upped his swing and miss. He's back is what you should be thinking. And game 1 of a 3-game set in New York, right after the off day, you should be sitting there going, okay, we need to figure out how to get through 3 games. If you go into that game and you're questioning whether or not you're going to start a bullpen game when you have 3 straight games with no off days, that tells you all you need to know about what they feel Walker's telling them, what they saw from Walker Buehler, and how that lined up. To me, it's an automatic bang. He's throwing game 3. But the fact that they said, I don't think so, to me, I would be more worried if I'm a Dodgers fan about what they really think Walker's got in a tank or how he bounced back maybe from that last start. Swing and miss pitches with more spin rate, you don't just all of a sudden do it and you go, I'm sure I probably feel fine. You're like, whew, I have thrown way harder, way more effort than I did in the last game, and I feel brutal. So to me, yes, the 3 and 4, the fact that they have Gil and even Nestor, like Cam said, and Clark Schmidt to choose from, that's a huge advantage for them.
And we still haven't seen a Stroh show, to be honest. If you're just talking about at the end of the day, Kratz, if you need innings and you're not looking for Stroh to go 5, but if you need a guy to, bridge the gap, there's still a possibility that he can get you outs. You know what I mean? I like him more pitching in Dodger Stadium than I do Yankee Stadium if they were going to use him. But again, the Yankees have a plethora of options when you talk about, that rotation, and it sets them up for a really good spot.
I don't know that Stroh makes it, Cam. I don't know that Stroh makes, because I think it hinges on where they feel Nestor is. If Nestor's last outing is 35 plus pitches, Stroh Show might not be there. And I think that's.
I agree.
For me,
competitor
that Stroh is, the competitor that Stroh is, they might leave him off. But hey, we might find out during the show here too.
I think we probably will find out what the rosters look like. We'll get an idea. And also, of course, we'll talk to Ken Rosenthal. He's going to be first guest to join us. So we'll ask him if he has any indication of who's coming back, who's going to be on this roster for the World Series, and how they'll factor in.
Sorry, Scott, one more thing. Like when you said that there, normally when we talk about this, like you talk about the 26th guy making the roster for a series, for the ALCS, for the World Series, whatever it is, you're like, whatever, he's a non-factor. I think the way these offenses are, that 26th guy, whether it's Brusdar Graterol, whether it's Vesia, who gave him 5 innings in that bullpen game, whether it's Stroman, wherever they make their choices, is gonna play a huge role, even if it is Nestor or Stroman, whichever they're choosing between there, because they're gonna need to give them outs. Are they gonna be 7-6 in the 8th inning outs? No. But 10-3 in the 4th through the 7th inning of game 3, that's huge outs. That's huge outs to set your team up for the rest of the series.
You know what I think also happens is the circle of trust can either shrink or expand during the postseason. What I've seen from the Yankees is an expansion of the circle of trust. Example for me would be Jake Cousins. Was he in there to start the postseason? I'm not sure. And I know he had an issue towards the end of the regular season, right? But then what we saw from him, especially in that last outing in the clincher, I think it was 5 batters faced. I think he walked 1 and struck out the other 4. I'm like, all right, you're in. You're in the circle of trust right now. So let's get to the inside scoop. We'll get more here on the roster and the preview. I usually sing along now, everyone knows. FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal with us right now before the big game 1. Do you feel it, Ken? Does it feel different? You've covered tons of World Series now. Did this one feel different after the media day Thursday?
Yes, it definitely feels bigger. And there's more media here, of course, including the Japanese media. And in general, just because of all the things we've discussed, the stars on the field, the quality of the teams, the sizes of the markets, it does feel bigger. Probably the biggest since 2016, Cubs, then Indians. But we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure it's going to be really cool to watch just all of these great players on the field at once. That's the thing that has me the most pumped up.
This is kind of like a little subplot that you only get to see. How much Japanese media are there compared to a year when I played with Masa, he would lead his own scrums. We won in Cleveland, and he had his own live TV where I said something in Japanese on it in live TV. And so I remember that distinctly. Is there more than even in those years?
I would say probably yes. And certainly the presences of Otani and Yamamoto enhances the Japanese presence. These are 2 of the highest paid players and 2 of the best players that are in the game today. So, yeah, it's funny, Erik. By now, I'm accustomed to seeing scores of Japanese media at all games because most teams, not most, but many teams have a Japanese player. And when a team has a Japanese player, there is media. So it's just part of the landscape now. It's kind of cool. We all, the American writers and media members, have people that we know among the Japanese media, people who are our friends. So from that perspective, it's been a great boon to just our daily existences, I would say.
Hey, Ken, I woke up this morning super excited about today, but there was one question that kept popping in my head. What do you want to ask Ken? And one thing that I continue to think, as you watch this postseason progress, Aaron Judge hasn't had the postseason that he wants to have. And you have Ohtani making the move to go to LA, arguably the most talented guy we've ever seen. Soto approaching free agency. So many factors, but which superstar's legacy do you think needs this World Series the most as we go into it? That's one thing that just continues to just beat in my head.
Cameron, it's a really good question, and we had this discussion on Fair Territory yesterday to some extent. I would say the answer is Judge. He's the captain of the Yankees. He has not won a World Series yet. He has not had great postseasons, although in the ALCS he did some big things. Mookie Betts has won World Series. Shohei Ohtani, this is his first World Series. He's still going to be regarded as one of the game's great players, regardless of what he does. Juan Soto, he's getting his money no matter what. So while all of them have a stake here and something on the line, it seems to me that Judge has maybe the most to gain. Because if he helps the Yankees win a World Series, leads the Yankees to a World Series, he enters that pantheon of all-time Yankee greats, which he already is among, but he then becomes a guy like Jeter and like the others who have won a World Series. Now, of course, Jeter won multiple, and some of the older Yankees won multiples as well. But that, to me, would elevate him to a place where it's a little bit beyond where he is now even.
Ken, I think there's a great follow-up here from Matthew in the chat about the legacy conversation. Matthew says, which team needs this World Series victory the most and why? I'll give you just 20 seconds on what I think, because the Dodgers have been to the playoffs so frequently lately, and they've only come through the one season during the COVID year, but they're also pretty depleted with their starting rotation. On the Yankees side, they haven't been here as frequently, haven't been as dominant as the Dodgers in the past decade, but it's Yankee fans, and it's Juan Soto for this one season, hopefully more after that. But curious what you think. Which team's feeling the heat more as an org?
I don't know that either is feeling the heat necessarily. They both got here, and yes, they want to win, but they've had successful seasons. Now, to your point, the greater pressure, in my opinion, and this is kind of a open-ended question, right, would be on the Yankees, simply because the future with Soto is uncertain. And if they don't re-sign Soto, they're a lesser team next year and in the future years. Now, they'll do some things. They'll reconstruct their team. They'll still be really good. But Juan Soto is a singular unicorn-type talent in our sport. So with the Dodgers, they're not in that position. Shohei signed, Betts is signed, Freeman signed, all of these guys. They figure to be back in a prominent way, and they'll make some additions in the offseason as well. So I wouldn't say the pressure is necessarily greater, but with the Yankees, it seems to me there is greater urgency.
Hey, Ken, I want to talk about, the possibilities of getting Alex Vesia back, Broussard Gratterall, who are two huge arms. And is there a possibility, we talk so much about what the Yankees have in their starting rotation, but the Dodgers bullpen has been lights out this postseason. Is there not enough talk? Because one thing I continue to look at as an ex-player, I would much rather face the Yankees bullpen than the Dodgers bullpen. So I know we talk about the advantages that they have as far as the Yankees go, but is it fair to say that the Dodgers bullpen might not be getting the credit that they deserve as far as, Trinan, Hudson, all these nasty guys that they have at the back end have been getting big outs?
Cam, I think they're getting the credit they deserve. They had 33 consecutive scoreless innings in combination with the starters at one point in the playoffs, and we certainly saw them win a bullpen game to clinch the National League Championship Series. At the same time, the point you make about Vesia and Gratterall is a good one. The way their team is currently set up, with kind of a shorter starting rotation and a deeper bullpen, they need as many quality arms as possible. Now, we should have a word of caution here. Vesia is coming off an intercostal. Who knows if he'll really be what Alex Vesia was earlier in the postseason and during the regular season. And Gratterall, he hasn't pitched in a while either. And where are you going to place him exactly? It's not going to be in high leverage right away, I would not think. So that said, the depth, the extra arms, that is all going to be something that the Dodgers rely on and lean on in this series. They are most likely going to have another bullpen game. It's almost certain they will have another bullpen game. And With Flaherty and Buehler and Yamamoto, we're not talking about, in most cases, 6 or 7 innings. Though Flaherty did do that in Game 1 of the NLCS. We're looking at shorter starts 2 times through the order, and at that point, the bullpen takes over, and the more arms you have healthy and ready, the better off you are.
Ken, do we know anything else yet? I know officially we haven't gotten the roster decisions, but you mentioned Vesia and Gratterall. The other 2 names seem to be Miguel Rojas, who's trending towards being on the roster after missing the last round, and Nestor Cortez we've talked about quite a bit. But just curious if there are any updates and if it sounds like we're leaning towards them both being in there. I'm also assuming that Rojas might not play as much of a factor because you're just going to stick Edman in there at shortstop every day, right?
I just checked to see on X if there was anything new, but nothing yet. And Cortez, I think, almost is certain to be on the Yankees roster. They see him as a guy who can really help them against Ohtani and other left-handed hitters out of the bullpen. As for Rojas, he's an interesting case. He says he's in a better spot now physically with the rest. He's got a torn adductor that's going to require surgery. Now, that's the bottom line. It's going to be something that puts him at less than 100%, even if he says he's feeling the best he has been. So you've got Edman, you've got Kike. Miguel Rojas, to me at this point, probably is a luxury that you don't really need and probably are not going to play very often. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that particular spot. And Tony Gonsolin also threw a live bullpen on Wednesday. I would imagine he is at least a possibility, though I don't believe he is as strong a possibility as Vesia and Gratterall.
Ken, do you feel like when these rosters come out, it's like when you tried out for a team in middle school and you look down, like you already knew the top and you're just like, oh, Rosenthal. Dang it. Who on that list are you looking down the list? Because obviously, you know, the normals. Who on that list are you most like, whoa, like, I wonder if I didn't see this person, you know, is it somebody that's going to be left off or is it somebody that you're like, that person should be in here?
I don't know. First off, Erik, I was a basketball player as a kid, so I was always looking at that list and never seeing my name, and it was hurtful. But I don't know that there'll be any great surprises. We just discussed the names that are in play. I would guess if Gonsolin is on there, that would be a big surprise. Gratterall is still a question in my mind. If you put him on, how much do you trust him? So all of these things are in play, but I don't know that we're going to be shocked by anything we see.
Is Yamamoto 100%? Have you heard anything that he is not 100% because he was off, came back, they kind of built him up, and then they were building him up into the postseason?
It seems to me that he is 100%, and basically the way he has pitched shows that. He's made use of his slider again, which was a pitch he was not throwing earlier when it was bothering his arm. He has pitched pretty well in his last 2 starts, so I would say he's as good as he's going to be, or as has been, since the start of the season. And keep in mind, they're pitching him in Game 2. They did that so they could line him up for extra rest if Game 6 is necessary. They're confident he can go 5, 6 at most, probably, but they feel pretty good about him right now.
Hey, Ken, we had Tyler Glasnow on the other day. I'm sure you appreciate, his openness to the media and his accessibility, right? Many guys that were hurt at this time wouldn't even talk to media, and he's awesome. I just want to give him credit for that. But also, he talked about how difficult it is for him to watch, but also, if his team wins a World Series, they win. The other part that stood out to me is he said he felt like he came back too soon. He was working against the timeline of the postseason. He said he probably came back about twice as quickly as he should have. So I wonder, my question is if Andrew Friedman and staff are going to think about an answer like that in the offseason when they're trying to figure out ways to have a healthier starting rotation, because I'm only imagining what this series would look like if it was Glasnow starting tonight against Garrett Cole. So I'm like, what's the deal with the medical staff? Not that it's their fault, but can they be more convincing to players and say, hey, we need to wait and we need to just hope that we're going to win the World or make to the World Series, and you're going to have to only be available at that point on your progression back from your issue?
I don't know, Scott. That was the plan with Glasnow. They never expected him to throw 180 innings. They knew that he would require downtime during the regular season, and they were hopeful that it would lead to a point where, yes, by October 1st, he was ready to go full tilt. Didn't happen that way. Now, perhaps the timing of his injury when it occurred prevented them from doing what they wanted to do. And he had to rush because the time was running out and all of that. I get it. But, man, they never were under any illusions that Glasnow was going to be some kind of workhorse. They knew that they'd be dealing with a guy who would, again, require some time off, time on the IL during the season so they can max out with him in the postseason. Didn't happen that way. I'm sure they'll take a different look or a new look at the way they handled him and everyone else on their staff based on the injuries that they've had. Andrew Friedman, their president of baseball operations, has talked about reimagining the way they approach pitching in general, and injuries are going to be a huge part of that.
Cam, you got yours?
Yeah. My bad, Ken. I wanted to ask you, we saw Freddie Freeman. He missed a couple games in that last series. Can the Dodgers afford to have his bat out of the lineup for just a couple games? And where is he with that ankle? Because there is no tomorrow after this series. Where is Freddie?
He's better, he says, but still it's his front ankle when he's swinging, and he has a hard time keeping it as strong and stable as it could be and would be under normal circumstances. So with him, Cam, it seems like it's day to day. We'll see how he progresses. Obviously, the time off, I'm sure, served him well. He was off his feet, didn't have to do everything that he would normally do while preparing to play. But at the same time, he's got a severely sprained right ankle, and it was always going to take 4 to 6 weeks to heal, and he's been playing on it. So he's delaying the healing process. I don't know that he'll be 100%. I do expect him to play as often as he can. Obviously, the middle 3 games in New York when it might be colder, maybe he requires a day off there. But they've done okay without him, even the days where he has not played. If you remember, they've got Tommy Edman moving up to 4th in the lineup when Freddie's not in there. He's gone nuts. So obviously, they're better off with Freddie Freeman, but they've proven so far they can survive without him as well.
Ken, last one from Media Day yesterday. Aaron Judge does the Derek Jeter process to the most part, kind of just gives you the cookie cutter answers. That's fine. That's his style. He did point out yesterday that he wishes that owners and teams would be more aggressive in off seasons. I think that's no secret. I mean, look at how last off season played out, for example. Of course, some fans replied and said, "Oh, you're out of touch. You're on the Yankees." For me, I'm looking at previous World Series teams, and even though they're not always the highest payroll teams, which is good for the sport, they're always teams that were active either in the offseason or at the trade deadline or both. Rarely do you see a team where you're like, they did absolutely nothing from that year to this year, and here they are. So just curious, what you take from comments like that, because I understood what he was saying. Like, activity is good for the game. Of course, it's good for players and their wallets, but I'm even talking about trade deadline. The Twins are the example. They did nothing the past 2 trade deadlines. They got punished for it.
I totally understand what he's saying, and he's speaking for all teams, really, not just the Yankees. He's saying, and this is a point the union has made in labor negotiations, the sport is better when every team is trying to the fullest. Now, the Pittsburgh Pirates are not going to try in the sense that the New York Yankees try, right? They don't have the resources to do that. But could the Pittsburgh Pirates do more? I would expect that every fan of the Pirates would say yes to that question. And it's interesting, too, the Guardians didn't do a whole lot last offseason. Didn't do a whole lot at the deadline, really. And yet they had a not a pretty good year. They had a great year. So it's not always required the teams do that, but look at a team like Kansas City. Went from 106 losses last year to a playoff team this year, in part because they spent in the offseason on pitching that they desperately needed, Waka and Lugo and others as well. So spending isn't always the answer. We know that. At the same time, it can help. And it can help in a big way if you spend correctly. That's the trick of this whole thing.
Ken, you're always head down. Whenever people see you at the game, you're always head down, working, talking to somebody. Are you ever starstruck at these World Series? Have you ever met somebody at these World Series? Because celebrities come out, because it's our Super Bowl. This is the biggest stage. Have you ever been like, whoa, hey, oh, you know my name? Is there anybody for you, Ken, that you've, or that you would like to meet if there hasn't been anybody that you've been starstruck by?
That's a good question, Erik. I don't know that I've been starstruck too often. And it's funny because when you cover baseball, that's your job. And you meet Aaron Judge. You meet Aaron Judge because you are covering him and asking him questions and that kind of thing. I guess certain Hollywood people, if I met them, I'd be starstruck by. But I don't know that that's happened too often. Now, Sandy Koufax, I did shake his hand during one of the games during the NLCS, and of course, he has great meaning to all baseball fans everywhere. And Magic Johnson was in the same area, and I saw him. And it's cool to see those guys, but you're right. Mostly my head is down and trying to do my job.
Ken, I know we promised, but it actually just came out. So on your way out, Juan Toribio reporting Vesia and Gratterall are on the roster, but a shocker here, truly a shocker. Evan Phillips is not on the Dodgers roster here for the World Series. He suffered an injury. Did you hear about this?
Hold on, yes. And all right, what happened was in Game 6 of the NLCS, Evan Phillips was supposed to come out for a second inning. He did not. And I asked him about this yesterday. I did not get a chance to see him until yesterday. And I said, hey, what happened here? And he said, listen, normal soreness, things happen during the year, especially this time of year. And I was having trouble recovering the way I had earlier in the postseason and certainly during the regular season. Now, he told me he fully expected to be on the roster, but there was something going on in Game 6, and evidently, even though Evan put his best face on yesterday, there was something serious enough to keep him off. So that's where that comes from. Something happened in Game 6 where he just couldn't go that second inning. I don't know that he was going to pitch the full inning, but he was at least going to come out. I believe Marte was the first batter. So I was aware of this. I did kind of know, but at the same time, when I asked him yesterday, he was fully confident he'd be on.
Oh, I mean, like my heart just now, when the guy's that close, and he's a great guy too. I just root for good players, so that sucks. But I'm glad we caught you for a little more info there on the back end. Ken, thank you so much. Of course, enjoy Game 1. We'll be watching, and then we'll see you next week for Fair and for Foul Territory.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, and of course, much more on Fair Territory, including that legacy conversation if you want to learn more about which players we spoke about with October and how they could, kind of elevate their legacy pretty quickly here with a World Series win. Go check that out. I was pinch hitting for Alana yesterday, so I was on with Ken. And yeah, let's swing it right back here first. I just want to react to this because this is massive breaking news in my mind for World Series purposes. Evan Phillips, you can make the case is what, their second best reliever right now. I think Trinan's just got it going on more than anyone that I've seen in their bullpen. But Phillips has been a pretty consistent closer for them for a good chunk of the year. And this really wasn't out there as far as I saw. So I'm glad we got the instant perspective from Ken. But Cam, this truly changes things. They have Gratterall, they have Vesia. That certainly helps, no doubt about that. But Evan Phillips is a stud reliever at the back end for them.
Yeah, he was a constant guy that they went to and they felt comfortable in whatever the situation is. Like you said, training has been on the heater, but Evan Phillips has been the most consistent guy throughout the season and even dating back to last year. So that makes those Broussard Gratterall move and the Alex Vesia move just that much more important. But like Ken said, Broussard hasn't thrown and who knows when. Alex Vesia has an intercostal. EK knows intercostal obliques. They are tough to get through and get by. So this really is going to be difficult now, and it's going to be even more important for the guys that are starting for the Dodgers to eat innings. They have to do their best to get deep as they can and give this bullpen a little bit of breathing room because losing Evan Phillips is a huge blow to the Dodgers bullpen.
Evan Phillips didn't have the year this year that he had the last 2 years. It was dominant. This year was really good, and I think he's one of the top 3 guys in the back of that bullpen. I think you throw Kopech in there. Obviously, he opened in, I think, Game 6 or whatever, but that's tough. Cam hit everything. I think he's spot on. When I heard that news, I'm like it made my heart ache. A guy to be able to make it to this point, and if you want to know how he got to this point on the Dodgers, look back last year. We had him on the show, and it was last year, right? Or was it early this year? Either way,
it all strings together. But we've had him on, yeah.
He was very open about getting to this point and everything, and then to be left off the roster for whatever reason, injury, non-performance. This is clearly from an injury. It sucks. It sucks because you sit there, and it will be a miserable 7 games for him, 6 games, however long this series goes, because he's going to be nervous like the fans are because he can't do anything about it. He doesn't have any. You lose those nerves when you go into the game. You gain a ton of nerves when you don't have any way of making an impact on this game. So I feel terrible for him.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the way the Dodgers bullpen is set up, Kopech just is coming to blow away any part of a lineup. I would say Trinan, for the most part, the same way. When you look at Alex Vesia and him hopping back onto this roster, I mean, that's the premier lefty, right? That's the guy who you're going to circle and you're going to say, all right, getting a little piece here of a Juan Soto. Evan Phillips, to me, guys, is not the right-handed version, but the combination that he has with the sinker, slider, cutter, plus the arm angle, right? That's the guy where you were going to circle righties in the lineup and say, let's make sure we get Phillips in here for a couple of these games to try and neutralize some of the bigger right-handed bats for the Yankees. Am I on the money there, Kratz, with how you could utilize him and how it'll change things?
Judge was his lane the entire time. Not saying he can't get Soto out, not saying he can't get G out. Judge has to be thrown sliders down and away, heaters up off. If you have to bring Blake Trinan in to face, Blake Trinan is very much, and I know he's trying to elevate that sinker up and in, but he's very much down and down. And all power, all slug is about mid-thigh down for Judge. Phillips, to me, if I'm circling and I haven't seen the scatter report, the heat maps, whatever, that's his lane. To me, it's he's getting Glaber out, he's getting Judge out, and depending on where they're at with Stanton, depending on the situation, that's his lane. I don't think Evan Phillips expands the zone quite enough to get Stanton out. So I think that was, it was really Judge. It might have been 3 matchups for Judge, and that is a huge advantage for my soon-to-be expert.
Yes, we will go over that later on Foul Territory. So just to put a bow on this, Phillips off, Vesia and Brusdar Graterol on the roster for the Dodgers out of the bullpen, and Miguel Rojas is officially on the roster as well after dealing with the injury the last round. So that's the update on what the Dodgers are dealing with. And yeah, it's a big one. It's a shocker for most because unless you were there, you're talking to Evan, you're in the scene, it wasn't really out there. And you didn't even consider that. Is Evan Phillips going to be on the roster for this team? We're going to talk to Grant Brisbee from The Athletic in just a sec. So quick step aside so we can shout out the fashion show today. Some of us are rocking a little Viore. So Kratz is the best model. Yep. A new perspective on performance apparel. There he is. Go ahead. Can you just kind of tighten it up? Straighten it up so we can spell it? Yeah. And next time we might even have you just get like one of those stickers like the Jaime name is so that you can put Viore and then right next to you can put .com/FOUL if you want.
Do it. I'll rock that. I'll rock that John anywhere. And I'll be comfortable.
Check it out.
Viore shirt. If it's a Viore shirt, I'll be comfortable. So if it says .com on here, whatever is needed. This clothing's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, well, it might actually be helpful because if there's a sticker, you at least remember that you are wearing clothing because sometimes it could be in that comfort level where you feel like you're shirtless. So we all know we don't need Kratz thinking he's shirtless on this show right now, Cam. You know what I'm saying?
Shirtless Kratz, baby. We need it. World Series, we're going to get a shirtless Kratz.
Don't start. So get yourself going. Invest in your own happiness for the FT fam. 20% off your first purchase. Some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at Viore.com/Val. You can wear it at the gym. You can wear it at work. You can wear it when you go out. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns at Viore.com/FOUL. Viore.com/FOUL and discover the versatility of Viore clothing. Here we go. Let's bring in our next guest, Grant Brisbee from The Athletic, joining us right now as we get amped for the World Series. All right, so Grant, first off, of course, we'll talk about the series itself, but thanks for coming on. I really, really enjoyed your article. I listened to you on your podcast, The Roundtable on The Athletic. I read most of your articles. So I really get your humor, if you know what I'm saying. And I just thought you nailed it. So congratulations on a really good one and just a really entertaining piece. How has the feedback been?
The feedback was good. It was a piece that was assigned to me. My editor said, "Hey, I got this idea, and I think you're going to do it." And I said, "Okay." I'm not really that upset about this matchup. I think it's a ton of fun in a lot of ways, but there is some part of it that's a little, yeah, okay. This is a little too precious. It's a little too, it enjoys its own fragrance a little bit too much, and that doesn't mean it's not a great matchup with MVPs all over the place and tremendous generational talents, but it's just, it's a little annoying, just a little bit.
Well, and it's called just for anyone to go check it out and search it during, after, whatever this conversation, The Hater's Guide to the 2024 World Series. There's a few follow-ups I'll have from what you wrote. I want to start here. So your mom thought that the World Series meant what?
She thought, and I've heard this since I was like 5, right? So this is part of my family lore. She thought the World Series was the Yankees when the Yankees played the Dodgers. Like the big game is Stanford Cal, right? When you said the World Series, that's just when the Yankees played the Dodgers every year. And so she's grown up in the 40s and the 50s, and every year, she probably didn't put 2 and 2 together when it was, I don't know, Indians, Giants or whatever, but she thought Yankees, Dodgers, that's just the World Series. That's the name they've given it.
That is wild. And really good. Really good. I love it. All right. A couple other parts I do want to bring out. So the owner call out for not keeping players that you draft and develop. Can you get into that paragraph? And of course it hits home. I mean, this show, just like in The Athletic, you can just cover the game how it should be covered, right? Authentically. And I think it's worth pointing out that sometimes you see players like Mookie Betts on the Red Sox escape from the Red Sox because they did not want to pay him his value. And we're supposed to feel bad for, say Boston fans because their ownership group didn't have him in their portfolio views.
That's the most egregious one. That is, to me, the idea that Mookie Betts is anywhere else. It's similar to Freddie Freeman not being on the Braves, but Mookie Betts is, how do you not lock Mookie Betts up forever? How are you not in 20 years just remembering the decades of Mookie Betts on the Red Sox? He is as close to a no-brainer when it comes to locking up as it gets, especially, we're not talking about Barry Bonds and the Pirates. You're Red Sox. You're the Red Sox. You are the Red Sox. Sign Mookie Betts. Keep him as long as it takes. And for me, I cover the Giants, and a lot of people say, where was the Giants' biggest misstep? It wasn't finishing second for Aaron Judge. It wasn't finishing second for Shohei Ohtani. So much is out of their hands. It's not finishing second for Bryce Harper. To me, the biggest missed opportunity was when the Red Sox were shopping Mookie Betts, not to just jump in front of that line and say, listen, we've got, at the time, these big prospects, Joey Bart, Kyle Harrison, Marco Luciano. We're just going to go over the top of whatever the Dodgers are offering. And we want Mookie Betts, not just for the year, because he had 1 year left on the contract, I believe. But just, you have that negotiating window where you can convince him, hey, you're the guy for the Giants. That was their biggest misstep. And to the Dodgers' credit, yeah, they have the biggest payroll in baseball. They've got consistently the best farm system because they can throw the most resources at it. But they also were smart and said, Mookie Betts, yeah, we'll take that. Yeah, we'll put him on the roster and keep him for as long as it takes.
Hey, Grant, Cam Maybin here. I want to go back to the article that I thought was awesome, and I felt like when I was reading it, we were sharing a brainwave because here I am. Dave Roberts is a mentor of mine, but I have a real soft spot for the Yankees. But somebody asked me, and I want you to elaborate on, what do you mean when you talk about it being the most annoying? Because I think I have a feeling of what you mean. In my eyes, I said, if the Dodgers win the World Series, it'll be great. It'll be talked about for a little bit. But if the Yankees win, we're going to have to hear about this for the next 50 years, and it's never going to go away. Can you just elaborate on what you mean? Because I felt like when I read it, I'll go, this guy gets me.
Yeah, that is because honestly, it's who wins will get talked about, right? The Yankees win, you will hear it for a long time. We still are hearing 2009. We're still hearing about their past glories. But to me, the more annoying is whoever loses. You are there. You think they're entitled now? You think their World Series are bust now? If they get pushed down the mountain, that's all you're going to hear next year. And if they don't do it next year, the year after that, whoever loses this World Series, they are going to just pretend like they're Sisyphus and oh no, we got to push that boulder up. We're so underprivileged and oh boy, that's going to be annoying. I think the winning team will be a little annoying, but the losing team, oh boy.
I didn't even think about that. I love it.
Who had the bigger misstep? You hit on Mookie Betts with the Red Sox. The Padres, you saw what they did this year. Getting rid of Soto this year. I know they had to cut payroll. I'm not here to argue that nobody really has to cut payroll, but they had him. There's no such thing as a bad 1 year deal. Was the Red Sox misstep with Mookie bigger than the Padres, based on what we saw this year, misstep with Juan Soto?
The Padres one makes a little bit of sense, just a tiny bit of sense. You have the ownership change, which is you had an owner who's willing to put anything and everything. Once that isn't quite there, it's a little bit different dynamic. They got Michael King back. The Red Sox they got Jeter, Downs, and Alex Verdugo, and Verdugo's now on the Yankees. I mean they don't have anything to show for it. At least the Padres can say we've got Michael King, who was awesome. I still would have liked to see them roll with Juan Soto in that lineup because that would have been absolutely formidable. But I can at least get it. And they get a little bit of a pass when it comes to cutting payroll because they've been adding for so long. I mean, they're probably still paying Erik Hosmer, right? So they've been on the right side of how you build a team for a while, in my opinion.
All right, so Grant, I want to jump into the comments. Oh, I love the comments under the articles, especially certain ones. Some I'm like, all right, I'm getting some good news out of this, whatever. But for this one, I'm like, I'm also here for the comments. So I'll get to a couple. Here's one from Matt R. On the Athletic comments. On the other owner's point, this is part of the reason why, as an Angels fan, I'm rooting for the Dodgers to win. As much as it would suck in the LA regional area, I want Artie Moreno, Angels owner, to feel the pain of watching Shohei win it all after letting him walk and not even bothering to match his offer. He deserves to feel all the pain. So your reaction to that, but also the follow-up here is, what should people do? Most people want a rooting interest. And, I'm a bettor, so I like to bet on the game. But for many people that don't, how do they look at this and have some type of rooting interest if they're not Yankees or Dodgers fans?
So first off, that's a great comment. I mean, just to have an Angels fan rooting for the Dodgers, just to maximize the pain of Moreno, that's beautiful. That's that transcends sports. That's just a little nugget of the human spirit right there. As far as the rooting interest, all right. So I was a Giants fan. I started as a Giants blogger. I was a Giants partisan. Now I'm professional and hoity-toity, and I don't root for teams. People don't believe me when I say that, but I really don't. And so for me, if you don't care about either team, take the journalist's way out. Just really root for a good storyline. It sounds cliche and corny and dumb, and it is, but I'm going to be watching it, not going, Garrett Cole took me to the Yankees money and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to be looking for it and say, wow, Garrett Cole, that guy can really throw a baseball. That's cool. And look, it's Shohei Ohtani, and he's up and he can really hit baseballs. Wow, these two guys. I mean, honestly, if you're thinking about the greatest dominoes falling in baseball history, almost, it's Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani in the WBC. That, how do you not have romance about baseball with that? It's, if you were going to script baseball, and I'm not saying it is, but that's what you would have, is Shohei Ohtani against his teammate at the time. That's beautiful. Root for something like that. Root for Giancarlo Stanton up with the bases loaded in Game 7, and he's waved at 2 sliders in the dirt. And now you're wondering what they're going to come back with. That's what you root for. And it sounds corny. It is. But that's what gets me excited about this World Series.
No, that's a good way to put it. I like that. So I'll get you right to another fan comment that I think got quite a bit of attention. And I saw you respond to it on, I think, the Athletic comments and on Twitter. People are like, hey, you're taking this bit from urinating tree. Yes, that's real. And whoever runs that account does a great job. I've seen some of their content. That's what we do, though. We're, a YouTube show, Grant, and they've done, things like Haters Guide and all that. But I will say, I don't know if you caught this comment too. There were people in the comments like, hey, wasn't there a Deadspin article back in the day about Haters Guide? And then there was just a beautiful response from someone being like, I'm pretty sure nobody in recent times invented the blank guide to blank. Pretty sure that's been around for a minute. Like, I can remember being 10 years old seeing that in SI, Sporting News, whatever, you name the magazine. So your thoughts to the accusations?
I will, like I said, this was assigned to me. They said, we want you to do a Haters Guide to the World Series. And I said, I'm your man. I knew Drew McGarry and the Haters Guide to Williams-Sonoma. I read it every year. It's great. And yeah, so I wasn't like, oh no, I'm going to do Drew McGarry's bit. No, I just thought that's just kind of a trope that writers use. I definitely, and I will go on the record, I did not take Urinating Tree's content. I want to just dispel that right now. Urinating Tree, if you're out there, listen, I'm not familiar with your channel. I'm sorry, Urinating Tree. But yeah, I mean, I'm old. I'm not on YouTube that much. I don't know things. I've been around for a while. I'm sure I've probably used the Haters Guide before. But it actually reminds me of when the Marlins stadium was revealed and the plans and the plans for that sculpture with the floating Marlins and the monstrosity, it was beautiful, but it was also hideous. When that was revealed, I wrote this whole thing about it. And it was one of the first things I did that really got traction on the internet. And some guy in a forum on like marlinsfan.forumnet.net.org was like, this guy stole my ideas. This guy took everything that I was saying, and it's like, yeah, I don't really go on marlinsfan.org.net.fanboard. I'm sorry. So it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where it's like, listen, there's a lot of content out there, but I've got decades of making stuff up, and you can tell because a lot of it's bad.
Plagiarism is getting flagged so much by you. I can just tell the internet is just on fire. But in your article, you said casual fans might tune in to the first part of the first game. Are casual fans, have we done enough in the game of baseball that I love, sounds like you love? Have we done enough to keep that casual fan watching? Because isn't that the most important thing to grow the game?
Yeah, and 100%. To me, casual fan is not an epithet. I'm wearing a Warriors sweatshirt right now, and so when the Warriors started winning, like I go back and like I'm worrying about Troy Murphy and Ike Diaga. You know what I mean? And so when the Warriors started to get the most popular basketball team in the world, almost, there's a lot of bandwagon fans, casual fans. No, don't get mad at them. They turn into the goofy people who care about Ike Diaga. It doesn't matter how you get in. It doesn't matter what your gateway drug is. Just welcome them. Yeah, this game is awesome. This is fun. This team is awesome. So the casual fan in baseball, if you're going to get them, this is the World Series. I mean, this is, it's not like the Guardians. When did they change their name? It's the Yankees. It's the Dodgers. If you've heard of one baseball player, it's Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge or both of them. And so this is, if you're going to get the casual fan, the thing with baseball is that you really need to absorb it. It's like a 3-hour foreign film with subtitles that's beautifully shot. And the first time you see it, maybe you're bored to tears, but then you start looking at the nuances and it's, you start to, then all of a sudden it's Solaris and you think, wow, this is just a beautiful movie. The people who are in. It just takes a little bit to get there.
I got one more for you, Graham. I'm going to cherry pick a couple sentences from the article to get a follow-up. You said both of these franchises stare at themselves in the mirror when no one's looking. They also do it when everyone's looking. Then I'll skip ahead. No mascots, jerseys that have barely changed in a century. They insist upon themselves. That's from Family Guy, right? That one? Isn't that
correct.
An episode with Peter Griffin
Yeah.
saying that at some point? Okay, so you want to explain that? And also, do you agree with the way they operate, where they're like two of these classic powerhouses and they're not big on, I mean, they have fun, right? They do their thing. But I mean, look at the Yankees compared to the Mets this year. It's a prime example. Both have had successful seasons. The Mets have 10 skits and they play it up. The Yankees would not do that as an organization.
Yeah, I don't think they should do anything different. Let's put it that way. I don't think that the Dodgers-Yankees experience would be improved if the Yankees had, Captain Yankee come down with 6 shooters and, shoot hot dogs in the stands or whatever. I think they could allow maybe one beard You know, maybe two, maybe, you know, like what's the deal with the beard stuff? But they shouldn't operate differently. It's good that baseball has these organizations that they clearly feel like they're the upper crust of baseball. They're the ones that you know, they say, oh, you did not go to Harvard, you know, like they have that kind of mentality of where they're just better because they kind of are. You know, they're classic. They've been around. They're in these huge cultural centers. They have an incredible legacy of players, Hall of Famers left and right. They're a part of the cultural conversation, you know, all the way from, you know, movies in the 50s, and they have Broadway plays written about them, stuff like that. How are they supposed to act? Doesn't mean we can't be annoyed, though. Doesn't mean it can't be, yeah, you're pretty cool. Yeah, whatever. You know, that's the push and the pull, and I love it, but you can't not admit that they're like a little pompous, right?
Yeah, this Ivy League matchup, this Ivy League debate, right? You go to the debate and it's like the two Ivy League teams show up and they're like, oh, hello, we're here. Haven't changed a thing. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
Grant,
like they're like the 80s film, like the comedy film. They're the bullies, the preppies from the other side of the lake. You know what I mean? Like they're just a little, you know, they got scarves around their necks and stuff. Ascots. They're wearing ascots, both these guys.
Yes. Yeah, they're the classic characters. They're evil empires to an extent, especially both of them right now on the East Coast and the West Coast. There's some people probably that'll watch this on YouTube later and be like, why do they hate my team? But no, we're having fun with this. This is good. I love you have to understand the tone, and I totally got it. So it's very entertaining. Everyone check it out if you haven't already. Check out Grant's article. You can hear him on his pod, The Roundtable. But Grant, thanks for doing this. Appreciate the time, and enjoy the series.
You got it. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. Grant Brisbee from The Athletic with us on FT. That was fun. I love it. All right, a quick step aside, and then we're going to go into Ump Show, and we've got some heat to bring to the table. So we'll at least kind of ease you in with a nice little deal for your wireless plan, and that is Mint Mobile. All right, so quick, I like to get into this with something that you don't enjoy or something that would be really difficult to do. Like for me, I'm never going to run a marathon, right? So if they're like, hey, you need to run a marathon in order to switch your wireless plan, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to be stuck with my plan forever. But if they're like, you just make a little phone call, you break up with the past wireless plan with your past provider, and then you get yourself a little $15 a month with the first purchase of a 3-month plan, then you're in. What's something that's like, I could never convince you to do it, Cam?
I think that was a great example. Camping.
26 miles.
I think I'm good on camping. Even though I'm from the mountains, I'm good on like staying out in the woods, unless I'm like in like a camper RV. But like camping, you couldn't pay me to go camping. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the real rugged tents, not for me. Glamping, yes. RV, yes. Straight up camping, just like super bare bones. You know, those kind of TV shows where they're naked and afraid and all that. Not for me. Maybe for Kratz. Actually, if that's for Kratz.
Yeah, that is all Kratzy. I would literally have to go with somebody like Kratzy to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring Kratz.
We'd have a great time. There isn't anything. If the chat wants to find a challenge that I wouldn't want to do, I'm not gonna have moral degradation in my challenge, but I am doing whatever there is out there. I want to try to complete. I tried to complete a marathon.
You know, you should potentially try out for Survivor or something like that. I legitimately think you would win a show like that.
I want to do Amazing Race.
You jumped out of a plane yet, Kratzy?
I haven't yet, but like my kid, like
but you would.
If I die jumping out of a plane, like my kids are. I went on a. I tracked a lion. I tracked a lion on foot. Like that was exhilarating, but I wasn't going to die from that. I could die from jumping out of a plane. Just saying.
So somehow, with all that being said, visit mintmobile.com/territory. And if you're stuck on a deserted island, then bring Kratz. And also know that you've got the nation's largest 5G network, unlimited talk and text delivered right to you with high-speed data. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can find out how easy it is to make it happen at mintmobile.com/territory to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. And it's $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on their first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Oh, and we've got foulterritoryshop.com, FT fam. This is a good time to get involved. Obviously, we're pumping out as much free content as possible, so it's a little thank you, a little give back, and it's the holiday season. And if you appreciate this next segment, maybe you'll appreciate the website. So we do this, I think, as well as anyone in sports, so let's hit it.
Steer right.
Yes, it is time for Ump Show, and you'd be shocked, maybe not, how many texts I got, even from people that work in the industry that aren't allowed to say anything, and they're like, you guys better get after it on Ump Show today. And I'm like, why? And they're like, all sending me the same few tweets and Instagram posts. So we can show the umps that are listed for the World Series. And again, we're not taking personal shots. I don't know these human beings. Some of you guys do. But it's a performance-based world, especially in sports. And here are the following umpires that will be behind the plate for each particular game. You see them on the screen right now. I'm not going to read each name. But Umpire Auditor, which does a great job on socials of pointing out where umps rank, gave us the rankings for each umpire. And it has people confused. And by rankings, I mean, how are they doing behind home plate? That's what we care about. I don't care about anything else. I don't care if they're nice or mean. I don't care how many years they've been doing it. It's performance, right? MVP is who was the best or most valuable player, whatever it is. I don't care how old they are. I don't care about anything. And game one is Carlos Torres. He's ranked 32nd out of 90 qualified umps. This is his first World Series. Andy Fletcher, 73rd. This is his first World Series. So 73rd out of 90. Mark Carlson, 49th. Doug Eddings, 60th. 18th for Mark Ripperger, who is by far the top ranked of the bunch here. It's his first World Series. Chad Fairchild's 37. 37 ranked, not age 37. Todd Tishner is 24th on the list. And we can show some of their calls as well. So, guys, help me out here, because one of my buddies who's pretty high up in the sports media world was like, can you explain this to me? And I'm like, they have their own proprietary reward system within the league, and that's how they come up with something like this, as far as I know. And he's like, do you know about it? I'm like, no, and I'm pretty sure it's not transparently out there. So everybody is left lost. And all I'm saying is the heat is on, Cam, because if we have mistakes, the whole world is watching, more so, I think, than any time in the modern era with social media. And we're looking at some of the calls right now. So they better have the performances of their lives. Like, again, Andy Fletcher, don't know him, but you ranked 73 out of 90.
Terrible.
Terrible?
Terrible. Not even terrible. Terrible.
You see that call? Look at this call.
I've been thrown. I've got tossed a couple times, and Andy Fletcher definitely on the end of those, arguing balls and strikes. I don't know. It's just to see this lineup for the World Series is so frustrating, especially being in the box personally and being, I don't want to say screwed by these guys, but and then watching the clip. This is what I remember as a player. I remember these guys being bad. Like you said, nobody cares how nice you are. But even again, like Andy Fletcher, he's not the most friendly guy you can talk to. As a hitter, you want to know, hey, is that the bottom? Is that as far out as you're going? And the ego is so huge. It's hard to see this. And after some of the calls that I've watched throughout the postseason, these are big moments, right? One pitch can change an at bat for either guy, right? The hitter or the pitcher. And seeing these guys continue to get rewarded for not doing well is insane to me. But like you said, Scott, they're going to have to be on their career best performances, because they are going to be watched now with the landscape and scope of things. They're going to be a huge magnifying glass on their performances.
So I threw a tweet out there after they showed these rankings and everything. We did it. We did it in baseball. The two best teams are here. Why can't that standard be held across the board? 7 guys that worked their tail off to get here. I'm not saying they didn't work hard. I'm saying work their tail off to be the best, to be in this situation, so we have the best outcome for what happens on the field. And I love Mark Carlson. Mark Carlson is a super nice guy. Some of the other guys on this list are exactly like Cam said, like they just don't talk a lot. So maybe that's because I know 3 of the guys, they don't say much. They don't say much back there. As a guy that talked to umpires a decent amount, they don't say much. So you sit there and you go, well, maybe that's good for the World Series. You don't want an umpire really chatting stuff up, really getting, chatty with the hitters and the catcher. I don't know what goes into that proprietary formula, but this is the stage for the best. That's what you did to be a big leaguer, is try your hardest, do your best, or you get sent down and you don't get to play in the World Series, or you get eliminated, you don't get to play in the World Series. I don't think it's too much to ask to set umpires to that standard too.
Yeah, I agree. There's some good comments in here too, Andy. So they skipped the top 17 umps. Like, cool. We skipped the top 17.
Probably younger guys. They're probably younger guys they're hungry to stay up there, because younger guys, for people who don't know, there's actually, I think there's 90 full-time, but there's others that get called up and down. I'm not 100% sure on that, but either way, those guys know if they don't do well, if they are seen in these games, if they're tossing dudes in games because they have bad calls, that means they're being seen, and we're probably not going to call you the next time we need a fill-in. So that's where the majority of those top 17 are.
Hey, Kratzy, what do you remember the umpire's name? The guy who saved the guy's life? Was it Pat Holbrook? Younger guy?
Pat Hoberg, yeah. Pat Hoberg.
Holberg. He's pretty good. I mean, not the friendliest guy, but like balls and strikes, was he pretty good? I couldn't remember. Like he was
really
on
good,
point,
but
right?
he's under investigation, so he didn't work this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can Google,
He was really
Google
good.
what's going on there.
Great,
But yeah,
he
had some great
games.
games. Yeah. Not the
Tiny
friendliest guy at
zone.
all, but tiny zone.
When he's in there, take the over. When Pat Hoberg comes in, take the over, because it is a tiny zone, which is, I shouldn't say a tiny zone. He's just calling the zone. He had a perfect game, I think, in the playoffs last year.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, they're definitely, I can tell you right now, there are definitely better umpires that they could have got for this series, for sure. And it's without question.
I can't believe it's Andy Fletcher's first World Series ever. I was surprised by that, because he's been around. Yeah, but he's been around. He's not. Cam. He ain't part of that. He ain't part of that top 5 clan that doesn't do well. And you know who those 5 guys are.
Yeah, but he's 73rd out of 90. He's 73rd out of 90.
Yeah,
it's one thing to at least still be an umpire in the bigs with a scoring system like that, where you're ranking that low. Okay.
But
we're going to have you on the
PTSD
grandest
moments.
stage behind the plate for game 2?
Kratzy, I'm dealing with PTSD. I'm thinking about Andy Fletcher ringing me up against Chris Archer, and I'm like, dude, he's not trying to throw me a strike. Like what are we doing, Andy? Like, give me a chance. Like, I'm literally sorry, I'm having moments right now. Andy Fletcher, he's horrible.
Dude, it's
Was it a
insane.
day
A
game?
colossal Jaguar with a sarcastic comment. Angel in the review booth, like Angel Hernandez. I'm like, yo, I don't get it. There are a lot of questions and theories, right, Michael? Kind of like when a professor gets tenure. Yeah. So for me, I mean, I know some people are like, well, Angel Hernandez actually brought a ton of attention to the sport. And there are theories like, are a few bad calls good for the game? I mean, you get social media freaking out. No, I promise you that is not what is going on behind the scenes. I promise you there are not meetings where they go, let's pick a couple guys that are going to stir the pot. That don't go that far. Like, it is not that evil behind the scenes. What happens behind the scenes is just straight up politics. And you have to deal with, a league of executives, a union of executives, what is fair, who has worked the longest, right? Who has gotten an opportunity and who hasn't, who has gotten into it with a player or something like that and who hasn't, right? There are issues behind the scenes that we don't know about. But here's my point. I don't give a fuck. I just want the best umpires who know how to call balls and strikes to be calling the World Series with the Yankees and the Dodgers. That's it. I understand they have to negotiate this, right? Like Kratz, my guess, because I'm not trying to put all the blame on the league either. My guess, the umpires union's like, hey, here's how we're going to lay this out. How are we going to reward certain umps within our group? I'm not taking them off the hook in an instance like this. That's their job, to represent everyone, not the top 10, everyone. And they actually do a really good job of that because they stick up for the guys that don't perform well. So I give them credit. They're doing their job, but it's not in the best interest of the sport. So there has to be an answer where the league says, listen, I hear you, and we can have rewards for guys that do a good amount of time and don't get in trouble and blah, blah, blah via money, but we can't have them calling game 2 of the World Series. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a way around everything. There is a way for the league to say, I hear you, and I'm going to give you a little extra money so that you're not calling this game, but we're still saying you did a great job.
It is an honor. It is an honor to be in the World Series. I know every one of these umpires, they're showing up to the field, they're 3-piece suits, they're decked out, they're walking, they're walking the entire field to make sure everything is good. They're taking pictures, they're taking pictures with the managers, each other. This is a huge, huge moment. Not to take that away. All that we are saying is you want the best out there. You want the best out there. For their profession, I think most people want to do the best they can in their profession. I don't think they're any different, but there's also there's a set of, hey, here's your motivation. You want to get to the World Series? You got to come in the top 10 with, 3 ejections or less for the year. You got to come in the top 20 with 2 ejections or less. Like, there's ways to incentivize these guys, and it'll just create a better product. But what I think would be good, and I'm not good with my NFL names, but there's a guy that always does the replay when they have the Fox game of the week. Fox is doing the World Series. Why can't Fox go to retired umpire Angel Hernandez and have him on there during every replay and go to a split screen and see what Angel has to say about each one of these replays and what's going on?
And the zone, Kratz. I want them to talk about the zone. What do you think of the zone tonight? Well,
just get him
sucks.
and CB Buckner on the show. They should just have it like a man, like the Manny cast. It should be a Buckner and Hernandez cast. And if you're gonna ask Angel to be on there, then just put them both on there.
We could do it here. We'll do a watch along with Angel, CB. Who else can we get? Some active players.
I actually think Joe West would do a watch party with us at some point, just throwing it out there. So thanks, everyone. I wanted to make sure that we covered this at length because I promise you I got a lot of texts in the past 24 hours. They're like, you guys going to crush this because no one else will. I'm like, yes, we will definitely talk about this. We will address this. All right, let's keep it in Ump Show, but we'll move on to what the future of the strike zone could look like. So Rob Manfred was addressing the future of technology in the sport and the automated strike zone. And this is what he said on Dan Patrick's show.
Thing that's going on right now is the automated strike zone. We continued the testing in the minor leagues last year. We have decided that we're going to test the challenge version. There's 2 versions of ABS, one where every pitch gets called in the umpire's ear, and the other that's a challenge system. We're going to test this challenge system in spring training with major league players. One of the things that we learned with the rule changes that we did a couple of years ago, and one of the things we've heard from players is just remember, whatever you do in the minor leagues, it's great, but the big leagues are different. And we're going to try to determine whether the system we have is up to snuff to be used by major league players.
I respect that. It's a great answer, and he's right. I mean, I know players will say, hey, the majors are different, so let's test this out. My only thing is, it's hard for me to be patient again, Cam. I feel like the challenge system's the answer, just like I felt like the pitch clock was the answer, limiting the timeouts on the mound, the whole deal, right? So I would love to see it already implemented, like where we test it for 2 weeks in spring training, and if they go, cool, everyone cool, we feel like we're in a good spot, let's roll it out for 2025 in the regular season. Because, this past year, and I just think it keeps getting worse, when the most viral moments often are the worst calls, it's just not good. Mm-hmm. It's not what we want. I don't want to be complaining like this. So I also think that the strategy component of the challenge system is going to be another huge boon to the sport.
Yeah, listen, I've been vocal. We talked about it the other night during the watch party. We had this conversation, and I was in favor for the challenge. Being able to just give a little tap, challenge the call, and the at bat that continues to replay over my head is the Wyatt Langford at bat. If you guys remember him just getting just bent over, I mean,
Wait,
it was
Cam,
brutal.
you mean the Angel Hernandez at bat?
Yeah, we call it Angel Hernandez at bat. And like
Because
we
he
said,
wanted it
talk
to be
about that
about
bad
him.
publicity.
Angel wanted it to be about him, right? So that was Angel's at bat.
100%, and there are a lot more guys like Angel out there, right, who make that bats about them. So I think the challenge will be great right there. Little tap, come on, and it just can't. And I think like Kratz said prior to, I think with that it'll incentivize these guys to lock in even more, right? That's because now with the challenge, you're really holding these guys accountable as hitters, as as Major League Baseball, as a group organization. So I think this will be huge. I think it'll take a lot of the arguing back and forth, the bickering back and forth out of the game, and I think it'll help clean these guys the call up, bro. I think it'll help lock these guys in a lot more.
Oh, Angel. There's
The
nothing.
Angel at
There's
bat.
nothing more. Nothing more to say. I love that they're going to bring this. I think exactly like Scott. If it goes well, this technology, the most up-to-date technology is already in big league stadiums. It's going to be run on the Hawkeye system. They can implement this. What would make Major League Baseball drag their feet? I like that they're dragging their feet because they implement some things and then they're like, oh, well, we didn't think of this outcome or we didn't think of this. So maybe it's good that they're actually dragging their feet a little bit to let the players figure it out. But ultimately, in the end, if the players go, no, this isn't right, we don't like this, they'll be like, too bad, we do what we want.
Yeah. I will say sometimes they're right. Like if there were guys that were legitimately pushing against the pitch clock as a whole, you're wrong. The pitch clock was needed. It was necessary. If there are parts of it that you wanted tweaked, okay, go for it. Have a conversation. But as a whole, the pitch clock has been huge. If you have an argument against the pitch clock or you're even really noticing it much these days, I don't know what you're doing. Because even these playoff games this year, again, remind me, Kratz, how crisp the ball games have been. And they still sometimes feel like marathons, right? Like you've got Stephen Vogt throwing in a ton of relievers, Doc Roberts throwing in a ton of relievers. We do take the breaks between those pitching changes mid-inning. And they do feel like marathons, but they don't feel like the same type of marathon, Sometimes the marathons would still feel sluggish. And it doesn't mean that you don't love the game as much if it's not a 4-hour, 45-minute game versus a 3-hour, 25-minute game for a big bullpen game, 10-inning bash, right, with two teams. That's what's feeling different for me, and that's why it was such a win to get it and why it should have already been a thing 10 years ago. There were thoughts and talks about the pitch clock, and we finally got it last year. So I do want to make sure we keep progressing. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm trying to keep it tight, keep it entertaining, and make sure that we actually have a sport that was built off where it became its best, right? And it became its best when it had a certain pace to it. So I think a lot of the rules that are made nowadays counteract what we're dealing with. Sure, the strike zone's a little bit of a different story because it takes away, quote, the human element. But I just think we're in a different world, Kratz. I also do think here, last part on this, because you've been behind the plate, obviously, for a long time. Do you feel like it's more difficult for umps to grade pitches these days as a ball or a strike based on the excellence and advancement of framing and how the speed of the ball and the spin of the ball is better than it was years back? Like you're getting 92-mile-an-hour sliders, 102-mile-an-hour cutters, and they're getting framed quite nicely, and they work on that. Doesn't that make it a little more difficult for an ump to do their job or have a hole in their, what I call it, eye in the last couple of days, right? It's like a hole in your swing. Like this ump, he'll miss this. So let's hit this target for this particular ump. That's part of a scouting report, especially for a World Series game.
Oh man, all 7 guys strike zones, and their SLA, their strikes looking above average. It's all up there, and where they call more pitches, it's an advantage. It's an advantage for teams, and will always be an advantage until we have the challenge system. And even with the challenge system, not going to be able to challenge everything. So that receiving part of it, I think makes it the most difficult. The velocity part, guys could be throwing 120 miles an hour. If you see it every day for 162 days, your eye gets used to it. But they get tricked just like hitters get tricked. I felt like that ball was going to be down. Well, the reason you felt like the ball was going to be down farther was because that is the normal vision that your eye sees when somebody throws a ball from that angle. So when you throw a pitch that's contrary to that, to the norm, a pitch that rises, a pitch that sinks more, a pitch that slides more, it's going to be tough for the umpires to see it. And when you have a catcher who knows what's coming and has caught that pitch so many times, he can manipulate it differently. And guys are getting better at manipulating it. And so you sit there and you go, all right, it has to be tougher. It has to be tougher for umpires right now than it ever has.
Good combo. Of course, drop comments on this and know whether you're watching live or after the fact. All right, let's look ahead. Back to the rosters. So we spoke earlier about the Dodgers. Now we have the Yankees World Series roster. And this one is what we expected. Nestor Cortes is on the roster for the New York Yankees. He has not pitched in the postseason, and now he will be a part of the World Series mix out of the bullpen for New York. John Birdie is left off the roster this time. So I think we've seen enough from Anthony Rizzo now, Kratz, to say, okay, he's going to get the consistent playing time, so they leave Birdie off. They choose to have the extra pitcher from last round. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but 13 pitchers and 13 position players. So no Birdie, and still a guy like, say, Stroman is on the roster as well.
Look no farther into how a team constructs their roster as to how their team thinks about how they're best going to win. Like if you think I said it about the Dodgers before and Buehler not being named 100% game 3, same thing. You don't know what you're going to, if maybe they have one less pitcher. If Garrett Cole is 2023 Garrett Cole, maybe you're only getting 4 2/3 innings out of Garrett Cole, and you need that extra guy. You know what kind of lineup you're facing. You need that extra pitcher because there may be a game. You're not planning for a blowout, but you're planning to have to cover more innings, so you need more guys. Just let the teams tell you what they think of themselves. Don't try to delve into it like crazy, like, oh, Stroman's out there. This might mean he might start. No, it just means they feel like what they have isn't enough innings, so we need to stretch that with 13 pitchers and not versatility off of the bench.
Also, we had quite a few blowouts in the last round with the Dodgers and the Mets. Even though this matchup is a heavyweight fight, it might have a 9-0, a 10-2, or 2 in there in the series. And what does that mean, Kratz? You're most effective if you got one guy who can eat up a ton of innings during that time period. Who can do that? Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman could appear as a long man at some point in the game and eat up significant innings. I mean, you're counting outs and you're saving your relievers any way possible. So I do think that's important. And we saw in that last round, there were at least one, if not 2 times where you're watching. I think it was the Danny Young in the Mets Dodgers series. And some of the Mets fans were texting me and they're like, get this guy out of here. I'm like, you guys are down $1 billion. You need to pitch him. I know it might look ugly at the end, but you cannot use a high leverage or any leverage. Any guy that's going to pitch in the next game, I'm like, should not be pitching right now. The game's over. So you want to make sure you're in good shape there. And lastly, Trent Grisham has not played. The Martian, Jason Dominguez, has run twice in this postseason. John Birdie has actually played, and he could play multiple positions. Do you think there's anything to leaving those guys on and taking Birdie off in particular?
No, not that. I don't know that you look into. I think it's more of these 9 guys that we're running out there. They're playing all 7 games. They're playing all 9 innings of all 7 games. That would be what I'd look at with not having Birdie on there. Obviously, if somebody gets hurt, you can't worry. Well, what if somebody gets hurt? You don't have you can re-add somebody because of an injury. So to me, I think they're sticking with their 9 guys. Maybe Trevino gets in there, but other than that, I don't see Grisham or Dominguez getting in there to play significant time, especially if you pinch run for somebody in a situation, and then you have Gold Glove defense and Grisham coming in. But I go to, when you talked about the innings, I go to Tim Collins, lefty with a huge curveball, little lefty, huge curveball for us in 2014 with the Royals. He pitched 2/3 of an inning, I think, in the first wild card, DS, and CS for us, and ended up getting 3 innings, I think, for us in the World Series. So you need that. He came in one game, we were winning 10-1. We were winning it was game 6. I think he came in the 8th or 9th inning, came in and gave us innings, which set us up for game 7 the next day.
What do you think, Cam, about the little moves from Birdie off, Nestor, of course, on, and Grisham and of course, Martian still on the roster?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I'm with Kratzy. One thing I have really appreciated with Aaron Boone is that he's stuck with his guys, right? He's allowed guys to find a rhythm, go through some ups and downs, whatever it may be. But I'm also with you. I still stand on that. Game 3 could be a game where you see Stroh piggyback Clark Schmidt if need be to really give them some length. And I think that could be a determining factor on where the series goes. So I think, just keep eye out for Stroh, man. I think Stroh, like Kratzy said, the competitor that he is, he's going to be ready to take the ball whenever they may need him to. So, yeah, I like these moves, and I think that they're doing the right thing, sticking with their guns.
Okay. Well, now it's time to predict. Okay. We got the last 30 minutes basically of our World Series pregame show here. So let's bring in a friend in the weeds. Technically 2 friends. Okay. So Jonathan Papelbon on the links, joining us right now on FT. Pap, good to see you. Cheers to you, man. How you doing?
What's up, my homie? Scotty, Kratzy, Killer Cam, what's happening? I'm ready for
You
this
What's
know
World
up,
it,
dude?
Series,
baby.
baby.
I am too. And this is
I'm
great
on
to
this
have you
5D
live
on the
during.
golf course. You got to.
I like it. I like it. We like having you live for this, Pap, because AJ's also going to chime in with his predictions, but he's sending his in. He's back with us on Monday. So he's sending his in. So usually you send yours in, your picks, and then AJ gets to rip you, agree with you, disagree with you. Now you get to live react and have the last word. So we're going to start out big, right? That's what we do. We don't keep you waiting. The World Series prediction from each of us, but we will start with AJ Presenti.
All right, here we go. FT, World Series predictions. Mine, Dodgers in 7. Why? I just think it's their year. I think the Dodgers have everything lined up. I think their pitching is better than people think. I think with Yamamoto and with Jack Flaherty, if he pitches well in game 1, and their bullpen is rock solid, we know that. And I think their offense is just better than the Yankees 1-9. So I think the Dodgers win in 7. I think it's a great series, and I think everybody gets what they want, except for those Yankee fans.
There you go. Like it. All right, Pap, your response and your prediction?
Wow, I'm surprised. That's a pretty good pick by AJ. Although I think he's full of you-know-what when he thinks he can hit Kopech. But anyway, that's on Twitter. But I also agree with AJ, Dodgers in 7. The only thing that scares me, this is the only thing that scares me. The Yankees, and I've watched them all year long, they hit right-handed pitching really, really good. The Dodgers, they got mainly right-handers coming out of that bullpen. They don't have that lefty that can come in and shut down Juan Soto, in my opinion. So that scares me a little bit. But the reason why I'm going with the Dodgers is because they just simply got more star power. And when you got more star power, you win in the World Series. You got Ohtani, you got Betts, you got Freeman. I mean, look, This game and this series is all about star power, and we got a World Series that's got nothing but star power. So I'm going with the team that's got the most stars. Period.
Kratz, you're up. You're following. Let's go.
I mean, I'm letting every. It's like after somebody hits a home run in the playoffs, you just let the crowd react. I'm waiting for people to just continue to eviscerate another closer that's had a terrible, terrible postseason in Jonathan Papelbon. Every closer from Hoffman to Williams to Edwin Diaz struggled, to Pap struggled with their picks. So I'm glad I'm going Yankees in 6 because of exactly what Pap just said. They just don't have enough to shut down Juan Soto, and I think they're going to stretch the guys to shut down Juan Soto too far throughout that lineup. And guys like Judge, guys like Stanton are going to end up hurting them because they're afraid, wow, what if we use Vesia too much here or with too quickly and we can't get through the lineup. So Yankees in 6.
Cam, you're
I
up.
like it, EK. I like it, EK. Pap is my guy. Pap's been watching the Yankees all year, but I've been watching Pap all year. And he was on the heater early, but he's been kind of down here lately, man. So I'm going to go the opposite of Pap. I ain't going to lie. I've been watching you, Pap. You my guy, but listen, you've been struggling here lately. I'm going Yankees in 7, and I'm going Yankees in 7 for the opposite reason. We talked to Tim Kirkson the other day as well. He agreed with Pap. He thought that the Dodgers had the better lineup. Well, I actually think the Yankees have the better lineup. I know a lot of people, got caught up not realizing that the Yankees had to face some pretty good pitching, right? I think the Dodgers actually had an easier route as far as who they had to face to get to the World Series. Well, when I look at Gleyber Torres, what he's did at the top of that lineup, Juan Soto, we know what he is this time of the year. Aaron Judge, the supporting cast has kept him afloat. I think it's time for him to get going. And I look up and down that lineup. You got Rizzo in the middle towards the bottom. And you talk about the starting pitching. I'm giving it to the Yankees. I think the Yankees outlast them. And on top of what Pat said, the Yankees have been demolishing right-handed pitching this year. And I really like them against Flaherty. I like them against Buehler. I don't think they have the stuff to get through the Yankees lineup.
Yeah, and I'll finish. I'm going to go Yankees in 6. And if you're a bettor, that's at plus 550 on BetMGM. Yankees to win the World Series is plus 110. So they're underdogs. They're plus money, but I think they're going to take this. I think the star power in the lineup matches what the Dodgers bring to the table. I think we're pretty equal there. Yes, with Judge, with Soto, and Giancarlo. I know Pap doesn't love him in the regular season, but Giancarlo's a different beast right now. I'm sorry. I mean, he is locked in, and I don't think a few days changes things, and that's my secondary portion here. Gleyber Torres getting on base the way he does and has some pop in the bat. I wouldn't be surprised if he
has reached
knocked a
base
homer
every
or
time
two.
as well. Nobody's talking
Volpe
about
knows his
Volpe.
job
He's
right
reached base
now.
safely every game in the playoffs. That lineup, I think, is a little bit
Hey.
deeper, Pat. Come on, bub.
Yep, and the rotation too for me.
Can I
I mean, I've
just
got a
say-
pretty 3 and 4.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell y'all something. Okay, boys want attention, men want respect, and legends don't give a damn. Okay, you dealing with future legends with the Dodgers, and if they can pitch around, do not pitch with Soto on. If a man is on second base, do not pitch to Soto, please. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Aaron Judge, also a legend in my mind as we look at the World Series winner predictions here right now. And I do really like what the Yankees have. I think their bullpen is being underrated now at this point when we've looked at the series. I love the Dodgers bullpen, but I think the Yankees have a pretty solid group, and I just think they're going to be less taxed when we get to the end of a series. If you think it's going to be a long-ish series, which I could see, I do have the Yankees in 6. I could see them having the 3-2 advantage heading back to LA and taking a game. If they head back to LA, like I have a harder time seeing the Yankees win both games 6 and 7 in Los Angeles, but if they only need one and they've got that game 6, I could see them taking it right there. So let's move to the World Series MVP picks, and Przynski's up first.
Who do I think is my MVP in the World Series this year? I'm going to go with my ex-teammate, Mookie Betts. Why? He can hit for power, he plays defense, and he's going to steal bases. So I think that's a huge deal for the Dodgers. He hits behind Shohei, so Shohei's going to be on base. And then he has my other ex-teammate, Freddie Freeman, there to drive him in. So I feel like Mookie Betts is going to be in a great position to be the MVP of the World Series.
Okay. What do you think? Your reaction and your pick?
I went back and forth between Mookie and Otani, okay? But the only reason why I went with Otani is because if Otani does anything, if he hits a few home runs, he just does what Otani is supposed to do and what he's been doing, you got to give it to him. You got 20 million people in Japan watching it. The land of the rising sun. You got to give it to the boy who does anything like Otani's normally doing.
Okay, Cam.
I'm gonna go with Juan Soto. At 19 years old, we talk about a guy 9 hits, 3 home runs, 7 steaks as a 19-year-old. He's even better now, and he's continued to show that he relishes the big moment right now, the biggest stage of his career, going into this offseason. I know he's not worried about that right now, but Juan Soto is about to put on the show, and he's gonna put the boys on his back. So get the ice ready.
Juan Soto. Juan Soto's the guy. There's too much behind him. They're always afraid. They're perpetually afraid of Aaron Judge. And you can't throw to Giancarlo Stanton in Dodger Stadium. So that's guaranteed for you can't pitch to G in Dodger Stadium. Sorry. So they're going to have to throw something to Juan. He's never not up to the task.
People that know me know that I'm a betting man, and I need more value in my World Series pick, my World Series MVP pick, to be precise. So I think Soto is an excellent, excellent option, and I'm going to talk about him more in a moment. But for me, Gleyber Torres, just like Otani, is going to get the most at-bats at the top of the Yankees lineup. He could score a ton of runs. If the Yankees' bottom of the order, which is going to be a key, gets on base for him, he can drive in a ton of runs. He's got some pop. He's playing second base. If he does a nice job there, I think he could be a World Series MVP, and he is at plus 4,000, 40-1 odds for Gleyber Torres to win World Series MVP. To me, that's good value. Soto's at plus 550, so you're essentially at 5.5-1 odds. So I'm going to go with Gleyber Day, see if it's Gleyber Day. If the Yanks win a World Series, I think it's because Gleyber Day keeps getting on and scoring runs for them. Look at Pap. He's like, nah.
Hey, man. What? Man, I know what you smoking, man.
Your connection got a little shoddy there, but I do know what you were saying. I don't know, Pap, if you watched Gleyber Torres in the regular season, but this is not the same guy. This is a guy that I think eventually let the numbers build up, and he's hitting his free agent year, and he's young, and he's in New York, and he looks around and goes, okay, screw all that. I have a new calendar. It's a playoff calendar, and he looks like a different guy. And his stock is soaring right now, and I think it'll continue. So Pap will come back in a sec. Here's our World Series MVP predictions as we go down the line here. Pap's got Otani. AJ's got bets. Of course, you're going to pick your World Series MVP with the team that you think is going to win. So got a couple Sotos in here, and I'm going a little farther down the board. Hey, did anyone have Tommy Edman taking NLCS MVP? You know, that stuff pops up pretty frequently. Did anyone have Jorge Soler back with the Braves in 2021? What's up?
I did.
You did.
I want to say something real quick. My son, well, I should say this actually. He took a bet for me, or I put a bet in for him. He took Tommy Edman.
No way. Your son said, hey, out of
Yeah.
all people, Tommy Edman's going to be the star of the NLCS?
Yeah, he been hanging out with you too much.
Well, whatever. Hey, you put the bet down. That's good money right there. That's good value. So I'll take it. All right. So then I got one more for you. And this one's been highly debated over the past few weeks, the X factor. And we're going to set this up with the definition on the screen this time so people understand it, because I don't think I understood the definition to its umph degree. So let's check it out. The X factor. A variable in a given situation that could have the most significant impact on the outcome. That is the X factor. So I think some people, including myself in the past, have looked at this definition and thought, here's a guy that you don't really expect, or an underrated person in this series that is going to emerge. But if we're going purely off definition, Kratz, and you've been our Mr. Webster in this case, it's really just the guy you think is going to make the biggest impact, period, in the series.
Or thing. Guy or thing. And it's going to be Judge. Judge makes the biggest impact on the series.
Okay. Well, let's go to Pierzynski for his thing or player.
My X factor for the World Series is stolen bases against the Yankees. The Dodgers will run. They'll run with everybody. They'll run with Mookie. They'll run with Shohei. Even Freddie Freeman on a bad ankle stealing bases. The Yankees aren't great at throwing out runners. They don't hold runners very well. I feel like the X factor is, can the Dodgers steal enough bases? Let's say Shohei steals the base. Mookie will drive him in. Mookie steals the base. Freddie will drive him in. Freddie steals the base. Teoscar can drive him in. Teoscar steals the base. Muncy can drive him in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes down the line. So can the Yankees slow down the Dodgers, who stole a lot of bases during the regular season, especially the top of their order? And can the Yankees catchers hold them down and try to eliminate that threat? That's my X factor for this World Series.
Okay, AJ. I like that. He's going with a thing. Pap, are you choosing a player or a thing for your X factor?
Well, for me, I'm choosing a thing, and that thing is definitely the bullpen. I mean, look, I've been down this road before, and I've seen it happen. It's going to come down to the bullpen. There's no question about it. And if the Yankees can continue to hit right-handed, I alluded to this earlier, if they continue to hit right-handed pitching like they have, the Dodgers are going to have to go out and pitch the best they ever have to beat them. But I don't think that's going to happen. So my X factor is the bullpen. Which bullpen can come in, lead the most guys on base, will win this World Series.
Go for it,
Cam?
Well, listen, it's a person for me, right? And this guy has not been the guy that we've seen dominate lineups through the past. He's been a little bit gun shy, if you ask me, of attacking the strike zone. And it's Garrett Cole. Game 1 is huge in Dodger Stadium. If the Yankees do want to win the World Series, for me, Garrett Cole has to set the tone. Right, you got Jack Flaherty versus Garrett Cole. We all know the storyline. Jack Flaherty could have been a Yankee. Well, here's his chance to go ahead and shove it up the Yankees. You know what? Well, Garrett Cole, he has been, to me, nibbling way too much. He has been shying away from contact way too much. I need to see Garrett Cole establish his fastball early and often, up in the zone, get that heater going, and be in attack mode. If you get beat, Garrett Cole, make sure you're getting beat in the zone. None of that pitching soft, I guess, so to speak. I need to see that bulldog mentality. If you beat me, you beat me in the zone. So Garrett Cole setting the tone game 1, I think is huge. And I think our guy Derek Lewandowski dropped it. Teams that win game 1, 75% of the time go on to win the series. So it's huge.
Real quick, I totally agree with you, Cam, on that for sure. If the Yankees do not have Garrett Cole as their Garrett Cole, their ace, as a Schilling, a Cliff Lee that came in, man, look, they're done.
Going Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has not been what he has been during the regular season yet. So I'm doubling down on what Charlie Manuel always said. Water levels out. And water's going to level out in this series because your lasting memory right now as a Dodger when you're making a scouting report is, oh boy, Giancarlo Stanton hit a ball out of Dodger Stadium. He has like a 460 batting average in Dodger Stadium. Juan Soto took Gaddis deep in Cleveland. You know, he had the huge home run, 3-run homer to put them ahead. That is what's in their mind. And they're like, well, I think we can match up guys who are going to get Judge out, and it's going to be huge because they're either going to be too nibbly with him and he'll take his walks, which will create more runs, more RBIs for G, or they'll be like, well, he's the guy that has to beat us, and that has not worked out well in his short 8-year career.
We're looking for most significant impact on the outcome. I could just roll back my series MVP, but I do think the consistency of Juan Soto, and he's the guy that you're going to circle at the moment, because of what he brings not only in October, but really for his entire career, is that you're going to get a quality at bat. He's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with at all times. There's not really a hole to deal with, or definitely way fewer to attack than most players. So I think Juan Soto's who you circle. Obviously, he can bring the pop. He can get knocks when needed. He can get on base when needed. I think he's the guy that is going to impact the way that the Dodgers handle the rest of the lineup. So there's your picks. There's your X factors for the series. And now we are going to focus on game 1 of the series. So we're all going to run through what we think that you should be thinking about for tonight's game with our Lion friend. BetMGM locks. There's the board. Pap's like, change it quick.
Hey, let me tell you something, man. I love BetMGM. BetMGM loves me, man. We got a great relationship, man.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And you had a time during the regular season. So let's see if you can get hot during the World Series. We're going to go to Todd Father first with his lock for game 1.
What's up, everybody? I know I'm not in studio with the boys right now. I hate doing this because I see how playoff Pap did. He's 0-7. I hope I don't lean towards him. But today, I think the Yankees win. I'm taking them money line plus 105. This team is ready to go. Their fierce Erik Kratz is as dominant as can be. He loves playing on the road. Yankees money line to win game 1. It's going to be a battle, but I think it's Erik Kratz's time to shine again to get a kickstart onto the World Series.
There you go. Pap, he's taking a little shot. I'll go next just because I have the same pick, plus 105, Yanks to win. Obviously, I got him in the series. I got him grabbing a game 1 here.
Scotty, you're a little crackly, Scotty. Let's reset your mic. You started cracking up. So I'm gonna go with my pick. I do love Pap's pick too. I got a sneak peek of it. But I'm going G. They're giving me 1.5, the over on 1.5 runs, hits, or RBIs for Giancarlo Stanton, who has a .460 batting average in Dodger Stadium. And all I'm getting is minus 105 for that. That's easy money for me. I appreciate it. I'm going over 1.5 runs, hits, and RBIs for Giancarlo Stanton.
Man, Kratz, you know what you call that? You call that a sucker bet, man. That's a sucker bet. Let me tell you what's going to get tonight, okay? You look at these two lineups, all we've been talking about is the star power, baby. That's all we've been talking about, man. You got to go with the over 8.5. I got to go 300 on it. I wanted to go more, but honestly, I don't see Flaherty getting out of 6, and if Erik Kratz goes 6+, it might be an under, and I don't really see that either, so I'm going over.
Okay, I like that. And hey, that was very successful with the Dodgers-Mets series. If you were going hitting overs in that series, then you're probably out to a steak dinner tonight while you're watching the game. Pap, good stuff. Thanks for joining us. Go get back to your golf game. The service is a little wonky here at the end, but we got it all. So good luck, and we'll talk to you next week, all right? Appreciate you.
Okay, I love you guys, man. FT fam, y'all have a good one. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you. You too. Good luck on your bets, Pap. All right, yeah, and to finish up for me, I was like, all right, Erik Kratz and the Yanks plus money. I mean, it was too hard for me to look away there. So that's my game 1. And then, Cam, you're up last.
Oh, yeah. Say the best for last. Shout out to my guy, Juan Soto. Happy birthday. So you know where I got to go with this. I'm going with the Yankees money line, and I'm going with my guy, Juan Soto, to drive in a run, pick up a stake on his birthday, right? Big players do big things on big stages, and all he needs is a stage. Juan Soto, putting 100 on it, that'll get you plus 290. Let's do it.
Nice. I like that a lot.
Money.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
counter
playoff Cam,
you.
not regular season Cam.
I like
Playoff
that
Cam,
playoff
you know?
Cam. So Cam, here's my thing. I love looking at guys on their birthdays. My only concern is how they pitch to him. And yeah, he might be maybe a little more aggressive and want to be a hero on his birthday. But at the same time, he had a great quote yesterday at Media Day where he's like, you got to let everything come to you. As in, if they're not pitching him in his zone, he'll take that walk just like, as much as anybody in the game, right? So the only thing I look at with someone like Soto, and I've been successful with this in the past, is the hits plus runs plus RBI number versus just the RBI number. I know, and so usually that number, if you're trying to get it in the same range as the plus over the half RBI, it's got to be 1.5. But I'm just like, all right, can I get a knock out of him if there's nobody on base? Or if he does get walked a couple times, will he score runs? So that's the other spot to consider there.
Well,
Just to give
I
someone
didn't
an
want to go.
alternate.
I didn't want to go homer, but I wanted to go homer. He's gonna drive himself. Like,
all right, so that
listen. I'm with you. You can't. Listen, when I'm not doing it, if I'm the Dodgers, and I'm not taking my chances that Aaron Judge is going to stay cold and we're going to pitch around Juan Soto to get Aaron Judge. He's going to get something to hit. He's going to get something to hit tonight. I'm with you, though. I feel you, Scotty.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the homer portion, too. I'll get to that in a moment. When I think about Judge, and I was watching their clinching game against the Guardians with friends, most of who don't watch a ton of baseball, I just felt like whenever I sat down and I'm watching him and I'm explaining, his impact on the sport, I'm like, his postseason's been but and the last few have been right? He's had a couple moments, but I'm like, at any moment, like he could have a 2-homer game. You're sitting there as much as anyone. You're like, law of averages, he's going to go nuts at some point, right?
Oh yeah, literally. What Michael Jordan say? I'm due. Keep shooting. I'm due.
Yeah, exactly. What does Charlie Manuel say, World Series winning Philly manager, Erik?
Water level's out.
Good call. All right, so lastly on this seg, if you are a BetMGM Sportsbook account holder, or if you're not, you can sign up. Opt in to the BetMGM Bullpen Jackpot. You place a straight bet of at least $10 on your choice of any player to hit a homer. That will win a share of a daily $50,000 BetMGM Bullpen Jackpot. If that player you picked, the first pick you had on that particular game, so tonight, let's say you go with Soto, if that player, if you bet on him first and you opted in, if they hit a homer into an MLB team bullpen, then you will get a share of the $50,000 prize in bonus bets. Prizing will be paid out in those bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Here's the deal, FT fam. I see a ton of questions from you. We've been loading them up, so I'm going to answer them for the last 5 minutes of the show. First off, want to do a shout out to the Major League Baseball players that are all going to be at the 3rd annual Playmakers Classic. And you're like, what? This is so far away. But you're making your plans right now. You might be making holiday plans, giving out a gift. February 18th in Arizona, they have the 3rd annual Playmakers Classic featuring a ton of current and former big leaguers. Live performances, interactive games. You can check out our videos from last year. We were there supporting academic and athletic programs, and you can go get yourself involved, get tickets, or find out more information how to donate to the cause at playerstrust.org, and you use the code PlaymakersFT for 15% off. If you want to give us a little bit more on your experience, Kratz, because you got to go to one of these for the first time last year, and I would say the firsthand experience that you can have with one of your favorite big leaguers, to not just like meet them or try and get an autograph and all that, like actually hang out and have a conversation, have a drink, play a game, right? There's table games out there, great food, the whole deal. But the guys are just like kind of in their most casual environment because also they know that this event's for such a great cause. And if someone took their time and their money to go out of their way and make themselves available or at this kind of event, both on the player side and on the fan side, then you've got a greater good in mind.
The only thing I have to say is it's not long enough. I think it says right there it's 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours of nonstop action. It's not long enough. I saw players hanging out afterwards. A lot of these things, players feel forced to go to. Players feel like they're like, all right, oh boy, another hour and a half. Guys were hanging out afterwards because it's just a place to hang out. They had games, they had good music, good food, tons of different kinds of food, and it's an opportunity for you to not just like meet big leaguers, but like actually see what they're like kind of in the wild, like see what they're like in real life. And it's and it's all for a great cause too. That's the other part. And I think that's probably why the players are less reticent to leave.
Yep. Playerstrust.org, 15% off individual tickets if you purchase before October 31st. Go get after it, FT fam. All right, let's get to some questions from fans before we jump from our show here and then get ready for the post-game show after we watch the game. First of all, just a random question. I know I saw it from someone. They said, either of you ever play with Evan Gattis? Scott asked. You did?
I did. I got fired. I got fired for Evan Gattis. When I was with the Astros, I set up the trash can scheme and then I left. So he went down to the minor leagues. He was just DHing. He went down to the minor leagues, caught like 10 games, and then they brought him up, and that's why I dropped it when I said Gattis. That's why I dropped the Evan Gattis. That's the only Gattis that I know of. Completely spells it different, but
Me too.
absolute peach of a person.
I need money's
Blanco.
question again. Yeah, Oso Blanco. That's right. Look him up, kids, if you don't remember him. Which team do you think feels the heat to get a ring more and why in this particular year?
I'm with the Yankees. I think it's the Yankees. I think it's the Yankees in any year, to be honest. I just think the fan base, I think the expectation, Kratzy knows. It's just like Grant said, and I didn't think about it. If they don't win, oh my goodness. So I think for sure it's on the Yankees.
I think Dodger fans have built that up just as much. I am with you, Cam, because of the way the rosters are constructed this year. I just think the Yankees are healthier and a little bit more built out on the depth front. The Dodgers are missing a ton of pitchers, so I just feel like that gives them like a little bit more of an excuse. But Dodger fans these days, they've had a lot of winning. They haven't had a lot of World Series winning besides the 2020 season. So for me, Kratz, I mean, you've seen the comments here, Dodgers territory, etc. I think back to the DS when they were a game away from elimination. They needed to win 2 to continue their postseason lives. And if you saw the morgue that I was in with the comments, you were like, damn, this team's feeling heat. Things are going to change in the offseason if this series ends like this.
100%. They'd have a new manager, I bet. We talked about it probably since the beginning of the season. Doc wouldn't be back. Dave Roberts wouldn't have been back. All that aside now, the pressure is on the Yankees. The pressure is on the Yankees because you have a captain in Aaron Judge who has kind of transcended the game. There's more youth events right now where a 99 is on the field than there ever was before 2017. And my oldest son is as big a Aaron Judge fan as there can be because that generation of fan has seen Aaron Judge do what he has done. And to win him the World Series championship, because I think that's what the other 25 guys on the roster are looking to do. That's what the organization is doing, building around him. The pressure is on the Yankees to win this one because Ken said it. Juan's gone after this year. They're going to have to rebuild around it. Maybe Garrett Cole doesn't come back. Maybe he doesn't exercise that option. All things we'll talk about later. The pressure is on the Yankees.
Also, don't forget about age, guys. Age is real. The only thing that always wins is father time. Aaron Judge is 32 years old. His big league career started a little bit later than most. Garrett Cole is 34 years old. Do they have a ton of prime years left? Honestly, probably not. Prime. Will they be effective big leaguers for a while still as long as they stay healthy? Sure. But will they be this good? And I know for Cole, it's a weirder year coming off the elbow issue and the stuff is a little bit down. But even Judge, I mean, for as damn good as he was during this entire regular season, how many years left? If you guys had to, if I put the over-under of this type of ability from Judge, if he's on the field, right? Last year, obviously, he missed a ton of time because of the Dodgers padding, which Susan Waldman said better be fixed up in that outfield. But for, let's say, I'll put it at 3.5, over under 3.5 seasons that you'll see Aaron Judge put up similar rate stats? You think he'll do it for 4 more years still at this level, this year's
Over.
level?
I do. Over.
I agree.
G will be getting
30 sacks.
G will be getting to the end of his contract. There'll be more DHs for him. He's not going to play center field the whole time. Jason Dominguez will slide into center field. The Yankees are not as set up as the Dodgers. The only team that's set up as much as the Dodgers right now are the Braves, but the Braves have been playing in the Cancun Classic for the last month, so that doesn't count.
Hey, don't sleep on the
I
Cancun
agree.
Classic. What do you? Yeah, you agree? Okay. What do you got on your head
I agree,
today? You agree?
I mean, why would I not wear it? Why would I not wear it in 6? I don't have a hat that says World Series on the side of it. It's a shame. This hat should say World Series on the side of it. This is my last hat that I ever, number 36. Last hat that I ever wore. It was actually the last hat not in 2020. I'm sorry, not in 2020. I went out at 38.
And then, Cam, you know what happened? They were like, sorry, we love you, but we just can't make hats this big anymore. Like, it's too much, you know?
New era cut me.
We ran out of material.
Yeah. We got a shortage. We're loading up for these new jerseys that are coming out in 2024. They're going to be amazing. But in the meantime, we got to save up material.
I never thought of that theory. I never thought that New Era kicked me out because they ran out of material. Because Louisville, it wasn't Louisville that kicked me out. The damn ash borer got me. It killed all the ash trees, and that's what I used to swing, ash bats. So that's why I had to quit.
We're always good for a conspiracy theory. FT fam, if you didn't like Kratz's hat and you want to watch Dodgers territory after game 1, along there, Derek's after game 1 for pinstripe territory for the Yankees fan, and for the FT fam, we've got foul territory. And guess what? All of the shows are free. They're all available afterwards, so you can hit multiple shows. So Cam, Kratz, and myself will be with you right after game 1 of the World Series. Enjoy the Fall Classic, FT fam. Can't wait to see you tonight.